Okay guys, we'll give this a shot as our first video. Hopefully you can find this. We are on lesson 1-4, page 24 of your textbook. So what I'd like you to do tonight is I'd like you to spend time reading through pages 24 to 27 in your textbook and just getting familiar with the vocabulary and taking notes. So it's on classifying and measuring angles. So on your vocab sheet, I'd like you to take some time to read and define all of the vocab terms that are found in this section. They go all the way down to, I believe, on the back, measure of an angle. I don't have the second sheet with me. I think it goes into congruent angles. And perhaps angle bisector. But basically, go through your vocab sheet, and anything that is referenced in your assignment or in your vocab sheet that's in that section, please make a definition and a diagram. And the great thing about these videos is you can pause them at any time. I'm going to try to keep them as short as possible, so I'll just highlight some things. So if you need to pause them, go ahead and do that. Okay, so the first thing I want to you can add these to your notes, is the concept of defining an angle. And when we have a multiple diagram like this, notice that there are three angles created here. There's an angle that would be this angle here, 1. There's an angle out here that would be angle 2. And then all of it together would be considered an angle. So if you're asked to name angles in this diagram, you could do a number of things. The angle symbol looks a lot like the less than symbol, except the bottom segment is horizontal. Okay, so we would call angle 1, we could call that angle WXY. The middle coordinate is always the vertex point, so WXY. We could say another angle in this diagram is angle YXZ, Y to X to Z. Another angle could be the entire thing, W to X to Z. Okay, so make sure you follow through in your textbook and read all of those examples. Then we go into reviewing how to measure angles and just some work with protractors. Make sure that when you're measuring an angle, suppose we're measuring the angle that I'm highlighting in red here, the bottom of your protractor, this bottom line, has to line up straight here with the terminal side of this angle. So this part down here has to be at 0 degrees. And then as you follow up, how do you know which set of numbers to follow? Well, if you start down here at 0 and you're moving upward, you get up here, notice you have a choice. You can either read the inside numbers, which appear to be 55, or the outside, which appears to be 125. How do you know which one it is? Well, some of it's common sense. Since this is an acute angle, it's going to be the 55-degree one, not the 125. The other bit of common sense is you always start down here at 0, so that means you're going to be following these lower numbers up here. Okay, to find this middle angle here, you're just going to use some subtraction techniques, but I think you'll be able to look in your textbook, follow through the examples in the guided practice, and I think you'll be fine with reading those. Okay, just like the segment addition postulate, we also have an important postulate called the angle addition postulate. And this is not in your vocab sheet. You can highlight it in your postulate guide, or you can also write it in your notes, but it's going to be one of those postulates that we're going to use a lot this year. The angle addition postulate, it's found on page 25. And it's very similar to the segment postulate. Basically says that if you've got a situation like this smaller angle plus this angle is going to equal the entire thing. Okay, so the way that would look in writing is we would say angle PQR plus angle RQS equals the entire thing PQS. Okay, so please reference that on page 25. Make a note of the angle addition postulate. Then as we get into more work, we're going to solve problems with the angle addition postulate that will look something like this. So it says, given angle LKN is 145 degrees. So that means this entire thing is 145 degrees. Given the two parts that you know, the two smaller parts, how could you set up an equation? Okay, so I'd like you to pause the video right now and please set up an equation using the angle addition postulate that would show that this plus this equals 145. Go ahead and press play once you've got that written. Okay, hopefully you had something that looked like this as an entire equation. 2x plus 10 plus 4x minus 3 equals 145. I'm not going to go through the steps here. I'm not going to talk about it, but you would just solve this for x. Okay, and then be very careful. The question, I believe x comes out to be 23. And some of you got caught on this in homework the other day. Don't just assume that the answer is 23. We have to go back and read what it's asking for. It's saying find the measure of angle LKM. So if you look back at your diagram, LKM is 2x plus 10. And if x is 23, you're going to have to do some substitution to put that back in there. Okay, so please read and take a minute. On page 26 is this specific example. I'd like you to work through that in your notes and make sure that you understand how to do that. Okay, now in your notes, on page 26, in the middle of the page, there's a section called Guided Practice. I would like you to take a few minutes to do Guided Practice number 3 and number 4. And this is one of the things I will check tomorrow is these two problems. Okay, then continue on after you've done those. On the bottom of page 26, it again talks about the difference, what the definition of congruent angles is. So please read that. But once again, just like with segments, when we talked about segment AB being congruent to segment CD, we were talking about congruence, which means they have the exact same measure, and we're looking at more of the actual picture versus this, which means we're only talking about the lengths, the numerical length. Well, with angles, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say that angle A is congruent to angle B when we're talking about the exact angle shape. But when we're talking about the measurement in degrees, the size of the angle, we put a lowercase m to mean the measurement of angle A is equal to the measurement of angle B. So please make sure that you've got that distinction in your notes. Okay, to finish up, what I'd like you to do is continue reading and then go to page 27, and I would like you to do Guided Practice number 5 and number 6 in your notes. Okay. And then please go to page 28 and define angle bisector. And you are finished. So I want to expect to see your vocab sheets and all these guided practice problems done for class on Wednesday. Thank you.